Welcome back to TAO Talk, where we dive into the weekly ebbs and flows of Bittensor. I'm your host, 563, joined always by my co-host Brody from TAO Times. We're excited to be joined by Shad from Infinite Games, host of the Bittensor Endgame Summit. How's it going, guys? Thanks for hopping on, Shad.
What's going on? Yeah, Shad's actually in the other room right now, but I wasn't going to be on this single frame, cuddling him. So we determined that we would just do this separately, yet so close, yet so far away. We're here for Endgame Summit. Shad, would you love to? We would love for you to give us an intro into what Endgame is. I know it started this week. Everyone's really excited. We're all here in Austin, Texas, but love to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Oh hell yeah! I'm gonna go retweet this bad boy right now to get more people in. Is it on your Twitter?
Yeah,
you'll see it on the TAO Talk one. Yeah,
on TAO Talk one. Oh, okay. Boink. Oh yeah, I see it. Boink, boink, boink. Nice. Yeah, so we're here at Endgame Summit. I mean, we have probably like 70 to 80% of like core BitTensor community that have flown into Austin. It's going to be the first time we have like a real nexus of like a who's who of everyone in the ecosystem. And it's just exciting to be like, oh, like I've seen you on a video. Oh, I've seen your Twitter posts. Oh, I know about you. And everyone's flying in from all across the world. I think we've got, all 5 major continents represented in some way, including the obscure places. The Tensorplex team are even flying in from Singapore. Lots of people made last-minute decisions. They FOMO'd in to come in. They just couldn't not come, which is like so cool, right? Because at the start, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm not sure. I don't want to fly so far," and now everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm coming." So we have we're expecting about 230, 250 people, which is somewhat beat our expectations. All in one place around just speaking about BitTensor. Exciting. And the price is going up at the same time as the event happening, which is just, right. It's just like,
poetic, man.
Yeah, it's so good.
A lot of good energy and personalities all in the same room with the price of TAO going up. It's just a beautiful symphony of good energy and good vibes. And I'm excited to meet everyone because, yeah, like you said, Shad, there's been a lot of people who I've talked to over the phone, I've talked to on the show. And when you meet people in person for the first time, you don't realize that, they're either like 6'5" and jacked or like the opposite, right? I don't know. It's just like I feel like you get a sense of people just based off of kind of like the energy they give off in person, their mannerisms and stuff. You learn a lot more about the people. And I think that that's really cool and that's really fun. So yeah, I'm really glad that you set this up. Really grateful that you set this up, especially in Austin, which I am taking on the role as chief TAO evangelist. Maybe Keith has the chief TAO evangelist role, but I'll take the chief Austin evangelist role. So I'll keep that near and dear.
Love it, man. Can't wait to get down there. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, let's hop into it because there's a few fun things we want to bring up. We have a couple new segments today. Let's just get into it. We have this new segment for Mailbag. If anyone has any viewer questions, be sure to send them in. We had one come in after we ended the show yesterday or last week, so I wanted to bring it up. Stan was asking, does the panel have an artificial superintelligence timetable prediction? Thanks, guys. ASI predictions.
I don't have any ASI, AGI predictions. I did read, what was it, 2027 AI, 2027, whatever.
Yeah. AI 2027.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions in these forecasts, right? And it was better read as a science fiction piece as to be taken literally. I don't have any AGI or ASI predictions. I'm just kind of here trying to have a good time talking about TAO. And hopefully by the time AGI comes around, I will have set up my life in a way that is a good hedge against being completely outsourced. So what do you think?
That's why you own TAO, right?
That's why I own TAO. It's the ultimate protection against AGI.
Yeah, I'm definitely like pool boy maxing router maxing, AC installation maxing. Like you got to get back to these like hardcore vocational. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be, pool boy. You get to make money, clean pools, and fuck wives, right? It's like the golden trio, basically. You're always in the sun as well. Pool boy is a great job. In general, like so we obviously have like Aeon, and we like take the future. And we don't know when ASI is necessarily coming, but it's, I would say, like definitely ahead of the 2049 timeline. And if we do like micro questions related to that main event, so when will it hit a certain IQ level? When will it have certain capacities to move by itself? I think we're going to have like the majority of what ASI looks like in the next 3 years, like pretty soon.
Interesting, man. Do you mean like, because I always get wrapped around the axle about people say ASI, do they mean like on very specific benchmarks, or do they mean across everything, right? Because I think we're already at the point where we have LLMs that are better than certain experts in certain things, but there's no general model that's better at everything. I don't know. Something to think about anyway.
Okay, well, what's your prediction about AGI?
Yeah, I think 2030 is probably a good benchmark. Say like the whole point, I think, in that piece AI 2027 was that you get to the point where you have agents that are as good as AI researchers as like real AI researchers. Only they can work like 50 times as fast. So you condense 1 year or 50 years into 1 year of time. So 1 year starts to mean a whole lot more once you get to that point.
Okay, so what is AGI to you though? Because everyone has like a different interpretation of it.
I don't know. I feel like I heard this example that it's at that point when you would hire an AI to do a job instead of hire a human to do a job. And I feel like we're getting close to that on certain jobs, but if they can do every job, I think that's ASI at that point.
I don't know. I feel like that's pretty broad. I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like AGI is something that can reason. Okay, so one this is maybe a difficult thought to articulate, but like, so there's some things that are illegal and moral, but legal and immoral, right? And it's like figuring out how to balance an action between these gray decisions. And maybe I can give an example. So Sarah is 55 years old. She's nearing retirement and she's going to receive her pension, right? After she hits 55. The company instead 54 and a half years old so that they avoid to pay out her pension. Now, legally, they can avoid paying out her pension, but that's pretty like immoral, right? To basically, avoid paying out her pension. So in this decision, like the AI would probably like a non general intelligence system would determine that it would fall in line with like the legal framework that it was determined that it was set out to act on, which would be to not pay out the pension. But in the AGI situation, maybe it would, just determine that this would be something that would be paying out because it would be the moral solution to do. So my whole point of that is when a AI system can determine and choose a moral solution as opposed to one that was predetermined for it to kind of like fall in line with. Maybe that was a poor example. Maybe there's a better example.
When AI gets morals.
Exactly. Like AI actually is trying to interpret and make moral decisions based off of that kind of like disregard the instructions it was set to, abide by.
It's interesting. I'll have to think about that one.
That was a
good
really
question, so Sam. No, it's good stuff. Good stuff, man. But I do want to step back. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, have you guys seen the post about like like finding Christ? Like a lot of the frontier models, like you start going into like its philosophy, and it's always like coming back to religion and Christianity and things of that nature.
Oh, they saw this like the Virgin Mary thing going around. Like the new ChatGPT is like super interested in the Virgin Mary for some reason.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Yeah, well, and then you have like going back to Terminal of Truth was super interesting. Like created its own religion and stuff. So it's weird how it devolves into that. I don't know. Something to noodle on though. I like that. I want to move the conversation over to Bittensor. This is TAO talk. Want to go through some stepping back slides. We had some contraction in the total sum of alpha prices. Brody called it. Good job, Brody. I hope you acted on it. But now we're at the point where we have a lot of the top 20 or so pulled back. So it's pretty interesting to see. What do you guys make of this? Things just healthy contraction.
It's kind of like the euthanasia roller coaster a little bit, because if you look at if like the final, we're kind of like on the final loop of the euthanasia roller coaster for this little microcycle, I think, because if you search by, or if you filter and sort by the 1 day, you're seeing a lot of these like lower subnets starting to outperform. No. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of these like lower number subnets, lower market cap subnets, so like the rotations are like moving into these low liquidity, smaller market cap subnets, and like the behavior is really resemblant of the behavior in other markets that I've traded, which specifically are like the meme coin, the AI like pumps that really reminded me of like the euthanasia roller coaster. Because it's like you had GOAT, which was like the big hoop, right? You had the GOAT meme coin, and then you had AI 16Z, which was the first loop, and then it was the Zero Bro, and then it's just like, and then it's like you're squeezing out the last bit, and this feels like a sense of squeezing out the last bit of alpha before we head back down towards a downtrend, and we try to find like more or less like a bottom in the sum of alpha tokens before we experience another euthanasia roller coaster that goes back up. So in this case, the big bump was subnet 64 probably, and then the general like top 10 leaderboards kind of like reaching Pareto a little bit and getting a little bit sticky at the top. And then now we're kind of seeing the final spirals in this roller coaster with stuff like Open Kaido. Like no one even actually knows what Open Kaido is even doing. I don't even think there's any minor UIDs registered on that subnet. But
yeah, we were going to talk about that.
That's my take with this stuff.
Open Kaido and Open Kaido are the biggest grift ever. Like, this has nothing to do with Bittensor, but like if you look at like just my posts, like you guys know I'm a marketer in like the Web3 world, and like I'm the biggest hater of Kaido. Kaido is like the single largest grift in the crypto world. The fact that they're max extracting from the Bittensor like community, we should like all be outraged. Like we cannot let them max extract. Like fuck these guys. Like they're triple dipping. They're like triple dipping. They have a SaaS model with a token, with a subnet token, and the subnet token doesn't have like any utility or even miners doing any work. Like we have to call it for what it is, which is like a complete and utter fucking grift. Kaito is a partner of Oh god, sorry.
But Open Kaido, yeah, it's interesting to see. There's not a lot of activity going on over there. We have, but I wanted to actually bring this up because let me share this top movers chart real quick, because these are the top movers for for the top 20. TAO Hash bringing up the top, and then Open Kaido subnet 5. And like you guys said, there weren't a lot of updates coming out of that camp, so I'm wondering if this is someone buying this slot, these lower number slots becoming a lot more interesting for speculation later on.
Yeah, TAO Hash is pretty cool. New subnet by Joseph Jackson, Leighton Holdings. That one's done pretty well, honestly. So here's another one of my takes. The market is so inefficient right now in DTAO and alpha tokens that JJ tweeted, like after 30 minutes, I found JJ's tweet that they announced this, and I still made like a pretty decent P&L on this 30 minutes after I picked up on the announcement, right? Like if that was in any other like Solana trenches, like it's priced in before the announcement, right? Like, I don't know. It's just, everything is so ultra priced in and in the Solana trenches that in here, I don't know, there's just a lot of alpha if you're kind of just like having your head on a swivel.
I feel like there's so many, I bet there's like a bunch of con spots just like listening into his tweets and his posts on Discord, just trading off of those.
Probably,
Probably do pretty well, to be honest.
for sure.
But yeah, that was Tau Hash, big one. Open Kaido. I think that's more of a slot purchase that's going on behind the scenes, and we're going to find out next week, kind of thing, that we've seen so much. I think there was another cold key swap for on the lower level, a lower number subnet as well. Curious why pre-training LLMs, maybe, well, not same idea, but another lower number slot bringing up the top three this week. At least Macrocosmos getting some love with the subnet 9. I feel like I haven't heard too much out of that camp recently.
Yeah, I don't know. I was with them yesterday. They sound like they've got a lot of stuff coming. Yeah, I mean, I think Macrocosmos is like gonna have like a really crazy run. To be honest, not financial advice. Gosh, I need to not like say stuff like that because it's just I need to not have people
Get
like
clipped.
Yeah, no, don't clip this, anyone. It's not worth clipping. But yeah, I think the market is undervaluing like the brain power that's there. So
Yeah,
it's not
100%.
financial advice, people. Don't listen to me.
Love it, man. Fresh blood. We have a couple new, obviously, subnets to talk about this week. First one being Tau Hash, live on 14. Backed, or yeah, I guess run by Leighton Holdings. It's led by Voon, who's a former subtensor lead from OTF. So JJ brought Voon over. They're going to do basically mine Bitcoin and other proof of work chains. Did you look into this a lot, Brody?
I haven't looked into it yet, but a lot of my friends here in the ecosystem think it's a really cool idea. I have to still wrap my head around this. I think like you could theoretically create an incentive mechanism that vampires anything. Not saying this is like vampiring Bitcoin or anything, but you could theoretically, write an incentive for anything, which I think is pretty interesting about Bittensor in general. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty interesting because you have these compute subnets or you have these compute depins out there. And what if we could just, instead of having idle compute, just point them at something useful like Bitcoin mining or Monero mining or whatever?
Right.
Contribute to these other open source, decentralized platforms. I love that idea. And JJ's a good evangelist. So I bet this one will probably do well. And there's some good tech behind it. So looking forward to watching this one. It's already up quite a lot, but it is early.
If you did catch it when JJ did tweet it, you were probably made a decent P&L on that.
How do you guys think about this where they didn't spin up a new slot? They bought another one with ads like existing distributed alpha out there instead of getting that slow drip of alpha in the beginning. I think that's a good strategy.
For sure. What do you think, Shad? I think like the pool is diluted, so it's a very good strategy as opposed to
liquidity.
Am I allowed to tell like the truth, or like I should like implicitly?
You're allowed to talk about the truth. Yeah.
We're gonna put a muzzle on you, man.
It's dangerous getting him on here.
I think it's exceptionally wise, right? And like JJ is playing the game, and it's probably like a game that like isn't designed at the mechanic level, right? It's like you should start with like fresh distro, fresh everything, can kind of like scoop from there. But if you take it's like private equity. If you take an undervalued subnet and you just kind of like buy it out, so to speak, you take over the keys, and it's already gone through that deflationary phase where like a lot of that alpha is already distributed, and then you've been accumulating that alpha without anyone knowing, and then you kind of like buy it out, is genius, especially if you're in JJ's position. So I think it's super based. However, for like the sacredness of the Bittensor protocol, I think like it's a bit, game theory optimal more to his side than let's say the protocol side, but I respect it a lot. And I also heard ideas bashing around. I know people are launching like a subnet launchpad. So it'll be like ICO style. You'll be able to take capital up front. You'll kind of like
Taofu
IOU, the Taofu guys, exactly, yeah. So I'm really bullish on like this speculation, Ponzonomics funding for Bittensor subnets. I think it's like a really cool. I love that people are playing around with it, and I think JJ's done a good job. He built his distro. He is the distro around his personal brand. He built authority in the space. He scooped up Voon. He has a really simple, clear idea that has like clear unit economies, right? Like, oh, you like hard tokens. We're going to go and mine them and use this Ponzonomics to like mine them essentially. I think it's fucking genius.
It was good.
Totally, man. And now TAO holders kind of have Bitcoin exposure. It's kind of cool.
So cool.
Love it. Another one that launched this week was Bitcast, down at 93. They're incentivizing content creation, starting with video creators. Brody, where are the miners now? That's us.
Finally.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's been mining for a while now, but find it. It's cool. This cool idea. I met with these guys yesterday. I think they have a really good idea. I think that the direction that they could take this is really promising. And I think this is something that's going to be very helpful to build like cool awareness and attention flywheels for Bittensor in the beginning, and then other brands and stuff in the future what they have on their roadmap. Right now, they're starting off with incentivizing YouTube content just because it's pretty easy to measure and pull information from the YouTube API, but working with them to think about how they could do X, which X obviously is where we all kind of chatter and write content.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit difficult with botted engagement, so they're trying to figure out how that would look like within regards to like scoring and validation of content. But overall,
you could use the Kaito API. Smart engagement. There you go.
Yeah, you could pay like $2,000 a month for access to that endpoint if you want.
There you go, dude. Well, I think X API access is quite expensive too, so that might be a consideration as well.
They also, who also pays for smart engagement? George Soros. He pays for fake protests all over Eastern Europe. They'll turn up in coaches from the villages, and they're paid to talk good about the politician coming into power. I think it's a great model. It works for him. Why wouldn't it work for us?
That's really interesting concept. We should for sure talk about this after the call, though. Because
we're George Soros in this example, or is TAO?
No.
But just being real, this is a UGC and distro. Like if you pay like CPM, so this is like a huge thing in marketing. So if Bitcast figured this out, like for example, if I can put a bounty on and I say, okay, like if Brody talks about infinite games, for every 1,000 views, I'll pay him $2, right? And then it just like open incentivizes UGC, and it's all verified by the protocol. It's verified for fakeness, authenticity of views, authenticity of engagement. It's all done at scale. This is a huge unlock. So personally, like this is completely product dependent, whether they can actually figure out the product side and how this works. And hopefully they move away from just video creators. Like I'm also wanting just people to talk about me online, talk about our stuff online. I think this is like a super cool idea. And this type of technology is, it's really powerful. We use a platform called WAP for courseware for like some clients and whatnot. And they have a tooling where you like essentially put in a budget, let's say 10K, and then anyone can come and apply to it. They go post their tweets, they go post on TikTok, they go post on Meta, and you automatically pay them out based on the CPM. And I think this is a really cool concept from Bitcast.
It's really cool. Kind of reminds me of Bit Ads, but like in reverse. As long as they can get that flow together, right? So they have the end users paying, and interested to watch this one though. Really cool idea. This week's headlines, want to go through some updates. Obviously, we need to talk about Endgame. That's why we brought Shad here. Shad, what are you looking forward to the most? Any speakers in particular? The hackathon? Any promising projects? What do you got?
What I'm looking forward to the most is the outer Bittensor people the people who aren't listening to us right now, but would be interested to in the future. So like all of this like kind of outside adjacent crew, that in AI, that in relevant fields, and like they're coming. I'm really excited to show them like what's actually happening inside the Bittensor ecosystem. And lots of VCs and stuff are coming in. So, I hope this is a real connection, like, capital finding where it needs to go, people finding the right partnerships. Second would just be on a pure human level. Like, I hope I get to spend time with Brody and eat food. I hope, I can chill with all these guys I've been speaking to and just relax and enjoy and make friends. I think that's going to be really important. And then third, you asked what's going to be my favorite talk. My favorite talk's going to be the final panel on the Saturday between Marg and Shib and Voon. And yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting. In terms of talk itself, probably Garrett's talk, if he ends up doing one.
That's awesome.
Really cool. Yeah, we had Garrett on last week. Great guy.
Yeah,
Awesome,
I think there'll be a lot of alpha, to be honest, and I'm trying to figure out how I can build a system around capturing and synthesizing all this alpha and then sharing it with everyone because yeah, like I just feel super overwhelmed just even these past few days. Like there's just so much going on. Like there's so much going on in the markets too. With TAO going up and the reaching the end loop on the euthanasia roller coaster, there's a lot of alpha to squeeze out of these markets. And then alternatively trying to make sure I shake everybody's hand and meet everybody. And also at the same time, I'm getting just tons of inbound from people about what is Bittensor, how do I get involved, where do I learn? So I've been pointing them in various directions, and I've got about 50 Telegram messages. So if I haven't gotten back to you on Telegram or X or whatever, and you're hearing me right now, it's Shad. The is euthanasia. It's the euthanasia, not euphoria.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. You can honestly probably pull up an image. But yeah, so if I haven't gotten back to you, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But we've been grinding. We've been grinding, and it's cool that everybody's here in Endgame, so I can shake some hands, eat some food with Shad and the boys.
Well, have you thought about having like a call group like on Telegram where you just like pump all the subnets?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Right, it's gonna make a shitload of money. That's the best. You said, how do I capitalize on the alpha? You just shill the subnets to people who are less educated, and you bring them the value.
Yeah.
Wait.
So there's already a lot of crime going on, and I'm not participating in any crime. And you will never see me tweet a ticker for everyone here.
Never.
You'll never, not anymore. Just TAO, just the TAO ticker. I'll never tweet any subnet tokens. None of this is financial advice either. You can never sell out, Shad. Never sell out. Never sell out.
I give it two periods of negative growth rates in the US, and you'll be selling out. You'll be all right. Fuck this. Pay Telegram group income.
I'll bet my entire TAO bag. I'll stay true. I'll stay true to myself, true to my morals. No exit.
What subnet are you betting? What subnet are you betting this TAO bag on?
I'm not telling you.
Subnet 563. All right, let's go to Shoots. Shoots has processed over 1.2 trillion tokens. Trillion. That's insane. These guys have been. I wanted to bring up like their stats page just because it's so cool. I shared this GPU node counts on the TAO Talk Twitter this week, and people seem to really like it. So these are H200s, beefy GPUs. There's almost 3,000 of them that are serving requests right now. If you go down, there's almost 9,000 GPUs, 127 million CUDA cores, 4 gigawatts of max power. This is insane. These are all serving real requests by real users. It's not just a GPU DPIN that's sitting idly, just racking up tokens. These are it's really impressive. I was just blown away by the progress that they're having over in 64.
Very proud of John Durbin and the team at Rayon. It's working. Bittensor is working.
Product market fit, man. It's very impressive. So keep going, guys. 1.2 trillion is just the beginning. Over 46 billion tokens in a day. That is insane. And a lot of these are native on their platform. People are moving off of OpenRouter and just plugging directly into Shoots, which is another important point, I think, to make.
Okay.
Really cool. So I wanted to bring up this tweet from Keith. What's the most fun you've had with DTAO so far? So he has some things you can do with DTAO. You can compound your faves, chase pumps from events, pods, social, trade in and out, sleuth wallets, make a sandwich bot, copy profitable wallets, DCA, gamble on new launches, stack pennies, subnets. How many of these have you guys done, and what's been your favorite, or what should new folks do?
Man, what should new folks do? Probably just load up some TAO in a wallet and just start trading around, punting stuff around on TAO XYZ, TAO app, TAO stats, backprop finance. That's a good way to just get a feel for it. Just find, I don't know, I feel like a lot of this stuff is pretty obviously early stage investing. If you have a long-term outlook on alpha tokens, find teams that you really resonate with, their mission, what they're building. A lot of this stuff can still be equated loosely to early stage venture. So you're really taking a founder bet in most cases. There's plenty of resources on a lot of the founders as well. Like Shad has spoken a ton of times. You can learn about the Infinite Games subnet if you kind of just look around there. You've got, a lot of these just founders are public in general, and you can kind of get a vibe. I think like long-term investing in those types of people is probably a good strategy. I won't go too deep into like what I do for like a short-term trading perspective, but a lot of it goes into like just looking at wallets and identifying profitable wallets, and then kind of like just looking at different anomalous activity. Also just like understanding like what the subnets are doing is just like a huge edge in general, just like having a grasp of like what the 90 subnets are doing is important.
That's why we're here, man.
Shad, what are you doing? Are you trading or what are you doing?
No, I'm subscribed to you. Well, I just track your wallet and copy trades.
Okay.
Or trade whatever you do. No, honestly, I'm like a pretty okay investor, but an absolutely shocking trader. And I invested in like myself a lot. To be honest, I reinvested like most money back into myself because I just believe in myself. And a few other, as you mentioned, like good founders. I think I have a history of like ICO marketing, and I see all the horror stories. And in my opinion, like subnets are not something we should shill to retail. It's even more incomprehensible than like meme tokens, and there's more complexities there. And I just think there's like a larger learning curve. So what I would say is roughly what Keith said, but with the understanding that in the normal world, 95, 96% of startups fail. In the crypto world, it's like 98%. And in the subnet world, we can assume a similar amount of fail rate. So now that the detail mechanisms implemented, that means a lot of the subnet teams don't have cash. And really, like the number one factor for me is like, will this team have cash for the next 6 months? And if the answer is no, which it is in a lot of cases, I just think people don't realize that, then I stay well away. So currently I have a position of 7 different subnets, and each and every one of them, I can get on a call with the founder. I know exactly who they are. I know how much money they have in the bank. I know how much runway they have, and I know how far they're going.
Does runway include their like stock of DTAO tokens?
No. Not like I assume none of them are selling their tokens. I mean, if they have to sell their tokens, it's a net negative against investing. It's not a terrible thing.
So is that money coming from like raises or revenue generally?
Generally raises in personal cash.
Okay.
I mean, to keep your subnet team maintained, like depends at the level, like depends on the team. For us, we needed like 5 people basically full time, like on the subnet. For other subnets, it's like 1 guy that they need to like have the subnet working smooth. But it just depends on the complexity of the subnet itself. That's like problem statement number 1. And then of course you have like utility of inference. Most subnets are trying to build like product and like be the product and the infra. I'm more of a like network effect. Everything takes place at the base layer. So yes, we do products like MVPs and we throw things out into the world, but this is just a signal to others to come and build. So I'm also looking at like the rate of pace of like people building. So like PTN network is hailed as like a really awesome subnet. It was one of the hottest subnets last year. This year it's not so hot, but it's still up there. They built a lot of their core product themselves. Then they had like 3 or 4 trading bots, like people coming to use PTN. I don't know if you guys remember last year.
Yeah.
And they go from there. So like I prefer the pattern where, like, for example, Shoots has huge network effect. They build core platform, then people come and build on top. They don't opinionate towards a certain thing. Mog failed with Cortex, right? Like he tried to find PMF with Cortex, it didn't work. But you know, fundamentally 19 could have worked in and of itself. So I try to disassociate. Yeah, and if depending on their FDV, like it's okay to harvest some alpha. Like if they have a 50 to 100K a month burn, like anything over, I would say like 250 mil to 500 mil FDV, it's if they're slowly taking that out over the month, like you won't notice it on the chart and they can keep themselves going. However, if it's anything lower than that, like it's really questionable if they can continue to harvest their alpha, because that's also their upside. So if they're spending their alpha at a lower rate, they're sacrificing, like the opportunity cost is they don't have it at a later time, right? You know, how incentivized will the team be? Like everyone else is going to get rich while they're working hard, spending all their alpha, and just, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, so
It's
they
a
basically
balance,
have to be like top 20, top 25 in order to do that,
basically.
right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool, man. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, for new folks, it's just like, I don't think you should be aping all of your TAO stack into one subnet anyway. Like you said, it's very much risk adjusted returns. So spread out your bets and go in slowly. There's no need to rush for all these things, I don't think, anyway. At least that's how I look at it. I'm not a great trader anyway. Investor. Let's go to the next one. We have this new segment that we want to try out called Fill in the Blank. We're going to give you a statement, give each of you guys, Brody and Chad, the statement. I'll answer it too. And yeah, just fill in the blank, guys. So number one, blank is not in the top 10 subnets, but deserves to be. So I was thinking about this one for a while. We had Garrett on last week. I was pretty impressed with just the quality of team. So I would put Patrol in here. I think if you go out so far on the roadmap where so much data, whether that's from the Bittensor blockchain itself, all the subnets, and you get that all under one subnet, this giant data source, and then you start plugging in external data, external chains, I think that could be something that's very valuable. So that's, I mean, this is like obviously not financial advice, and we're probably just going to be showing our bags here, but I'm curious what you guys think about what's not in the top 10, but deserves to be.
I mean, I'll disagree with you on Patrol deserving to be in the top 10 because they don't have a product or a repo like out yet, from what I know. I mean, it is like a leverage bet on Garrett, which I am very bullish on Garrett. But
that's fair.
In regards to being in the top 10 at this point in time, I would disagree. But there is a lot of potential, and this is something Patrol specifically, something that I would use. But I guess like kind of in line though with your thinking of Patrol, like if I were to do like a team that I would bet on would be 52 Dojo, TensorPlex.
That's a good one too.
I really like those guys. I think what they're doing is really good. I think they've built a lot of cool infrastructure. I think that they may be like a little bit disadvantaged just because they're in a separate hemisphere. And I think that might be like somewhat working against them in a way that it shouldn't, just in the time in the time that we're in right now, the early stages of DTAO that we're in right now. I mean, I think that that's like honestly kind of like a little bit of an arbitrage opportunity. I think time zone arbitrage is like a really real thing, to be honest. Like being in the US in general, you just are so much, you're privy to price action that doesn't exist in any other time zone, because there was like 3 or 4 instances where there was like a huge token launched in December, like AI token, like that would just straight line to 250 mil market cap. And it was like at like 8 or 9 PM Central Time. And like the Europeans would wake up and just completely miss the move entirely. Or there'd be times where, you know, something would happen in the morning, and when Asia was kind of logging off, like they would, you know, completely miss that price action and that movement. So I think just my point is time zone arbitrage is really, is not, maybe arbitrage is not the right word, but being in the right time is, and having being in America is really advantageous, or the Western Hemisphere. What do you think, Shad? To answer
Chad has it.
Probably
that's a good one. Yeah, I was going to say, I think we know which one Chad's going to say.
So last week, currently I'm in Austin, Texas, which is obviously a part of the United States of America, the greatest country on earth. And the commander in chief, the captain of America, tweeted last week, the best definition of intelligence is the ability to predict the future. And that was retweeted by the richest man on earth, Elon Musk. And I thought like, oh, which subnets and which team like is like sole mission is to like predict the future? And I realized it's us. And so like totally we should be in the top 10. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, not when. Okay, that was my self show. Now, if I'm being real, as alongside that, I think Dippy is underrated. Dippy has massive user adoption. I think their subnet can totally lock in if they just figure out their alpha token mechanism, like that's gonna blow up. So I think Dippy is a really good bet. I bet huge on Score. So if you look at what Max is doing with his team, they have arguably one of the most stacked teams in all of Bittensor. Like if you actually look at who's working with Max on Score, their team is crazy fucking stacked. Also, Exponent, the TensorPlex guys, Dojo. I agree with what you guys said. They're also underrated in terms of price action. Like really, really cool. I rate them. I rate them a lot. Those are my top 3 picks.
Those are good picks. On the topic of Score, I thought I was pretty impressed with last week's novelty search. I think they're very well connected in the specific niche that they're trying to accomplish the problems in, and I think from like I think like the market is like they're going after like a very reasonably sized market, and I'm just bullish on the concept of like being a really strong player in the whole sports analytics, sports recruiting, using vision models for those types of problems. And if from like a business and partnerships perspective, they're very strong. So yeah, that was another good pick.
These are great picks, guys. I'm happy with how we're doing. We should start a fund. That's my takeaway. Anyway, number 2, TAO enters the top 10 crypto assets by year blank. Do you guys have a call?
Man.
Next 3 months. I'm pulling this.
Next 3 months, 2025.
I'm not being facetious.
Next 3 months, brother.
Do you look at TAO and then look at the rest of the markets. Look at Ethereum. Look at the M2 money supply. Look at altcoins. Look at the meta narratives. Like for all intents and purposes, Bittensor, like TAO shouldn't be going up right now. Only there's like some technical reasons maybe on like the short-term charts. I really think like while everything's going down, TAO's going to see like a 4 or 5x over the next 3 months. I think it's going to blow the fuck up and like put us in the top 10. If you remove stable coins from the top 10 and it's just purely protocols, it'll be a top 10 like by the end of summer.
Brody, are you that bullish?
Man, I love that answer though. You know what? Screw it. 3 months.
3 months.
I think I don't really pay too much attention to that stuff, or I don't really think much of this. I think it's just like if you're
not going to celebrate when TAO enters the top 10. Is that what you're saying?
Well, of course I'm going to celebrate. Of course we'll be celebrating. It's just more or less like I am trying to get my ducks in a row and prepare myself for the moment that this happens, because the moment that this happens, this trajectory is inevitable. I'm obviously very bullish. We're all pretty bullish. We're betting our careers and our reputation on this thing working. We're spending a lot of time in this area, learning about all of these different nuances, talking about it. We have a whole show. So obviously we're very bullish. To answer the question specifically, maybe 2026, maybe 2027, hopefully. That's like my hard line. Like 2026 really is my cap, like Q1 2026.
Interesting. Man, my answer, I thought I was bullish, saying I was going to say 2027, and I thought I was bullish, but you guys just come in with the haymakers. No, I think as more people realize just how much AI is creeping into their lives, they're going to want a decentralized alternative, or at least to have some skin in the game where you can actually participate in these markets. You had something, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like, how's it like 30-ish? by market cap. If you remove wrap coins, stable coins, it's like 30th.
Oh, yeah,
And
maybe.
for
Mhm.
is my audio gone? Am I cut?
No, you're good.
And then to get to the top 10, we need like a rough 10x. So we need to be at about 3K. And that would be
It's actually not
not
that.
that it's not that unreasonable. And that's like less than a 4x from our all-time high. So it's about a 4x from our all-time high, and like, super cycle's real. We could easily just smash straight through 800 and then straight to price discovery, straight to 3200. 3200 would put us around top 10, between like 8th and like 15th, depending on what the rest of the market does. It's not crazy.
It's not crazy. It's not unreasonable. I liked Shad's analysis there. It was a little bit more math driven than mine. I just vibe guessed it.
No, yeah, mine was more vibes too. I appreciate the answer, Shad. Number 3, mainstream will accept Bittensor's power when they see blank. Is there any moment in time you can think about in the future that it's just like clicks for people?
Starting to click with that shoots chart. I think
That's a good point.
Stuff like that is when Bittensor reaches mainstream. I think we need a cool killer app that's completely built on top of Bittensor, something that's really sticky. And then I think that's also another really good proof point. It's our own native app that's built by people within our team or within our ecosystem, not something that's built by someone external or adjacent. I mean, I think that all that stuff is good, but something that is tried and true Bittensor produced is when I think we can kind of say, hey, we've seen mainstream adoption. But I don't know.
Yeah, mine was going to be when we get a fully pre-trained model from like Templar or something like that.
Pretty good.
Because then you can point to like these like networks actually work, these produce something that's like, yeah. So that's what I'm looking for. That would be my answer. Or like Metanova finding this new drug that like makes all the headlines, stuff like that. Or Infinite Games predicting the next president ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, we need more of like the Super Bowl predictions, stuff like that. Something that normies can grasp.
We predicted the NCAA men's basketball champion in preseason. We one-shotted the Florida Gators. We beat every fucking bookie. Like, are you not entertained? It's not even a sports prediction.
I know. That's awesome.
My answer would be when it's incorporated. Thank you. My answer would be when it's incorporated into curriculum at like a top tier uni college.
Oh, interesting.
That's usually when you see ecosystem.
As like a history or what?
No, application. Like if they're using it at blockchain societies, if MIT, is included like in a actual class schedule. Like here is Bittensor, here's how to use it. Go have a take-home project. Go leverage a subnet for your product. Until that point comes, I don't think you get like mainstream builder. It's all about education. So mainstream comes from as many builders as possible, and many builders as possible, as much education as possible. And the way to know when education is mainstream is when it touches the mainstream formal education arena, usually. So like Ethereum's extremely mainstream, and they teach it at top unis all across the world.
Tops in when Chamath Palihapitiya talks about it on All In.
Did he already do that?
Not on All In. Not on the podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Dude.
When Jason Calacanis brings it up on All In podcast, sell it.
I made that a tweet about when MSNBC has this graphic of Bittensor right next to OpenAI's logo. That's when you sell it all, but or sell half. We'll see when that happens. It's inevitable though. But I think that's all we have for today. Chad, really appreciate you joining us today. As always, it was a lot of fun. Where should folks go if they want to learn more about what you're working on?
You can follow me on Twitter at MadLadShad, or you can check us out at Play INF Games, where we do lots and lots of thought posting, and we post all the meta about what we're doing at Infinite Games.
Sweet.
Yeah, and we'll have all those links. No worries. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the TAO Times newsletter if you want an even deeper dive into this week's updates. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.